Hey everybody, today I'm reviewing the Woody Woodpecker sequel, aka Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. And what is my review on this movie? It is pretty much a solid masterpiece. This movie is just absolutely phenomenal. Exactly what I expected from a Woody Woodpecker sequel, and much more. So, not gonna lie with you guys, but pretty much my expectations for this film weren't that high. Like, even though I knew this was a sequel to the first Woody Woodpecker movie, a movie that I personally liked back as a child and kept quoting every single line from the movie, basically, despite all of that, the issue I had with the sequel is that I thought it was going to be a rehash of the original, considering that, the original Woody Woodpecker was pretty much a flawed movie, and you would expect half-ass effort from the team, considering that it's not really from the same creators. It's more like it's from a different team of animators and a different team of people who worked on different films. So you would expect that this would pretty much be a disaster. But to my surprise, the movie actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Like, not bad as I was hoping at all. Like, honestly, it wasn't even as good as I was hoping either. It was, like, not even in the middle. It was, like, pretty much a great movie, just like the first one. And unlike the first movie, I personally thought that the sequel was even better than its predecessor, which is a crazy accomplishment, but this movie somehow managed to achieve that, so yeah. Now, before I start anything in this review, I do have to mention the people who actually worked on this movie. So, basically, this movie was actually directed by a completely new director, completely new writers, and completely new music composer. So basically, the filmmakers did not have anything from the original movie that was like similar or even the same in terms of content. Basically, a lot of the stuff in this movie is completely new. Like, considering that it's from a new director, new writers, and a new composer. So they actually got Joe Rosenbaum as the director, and they have like 3 credited writers. Corey Edwards, the writer behind Hoodwinked. They got Stefan Mazur. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correctly. Pretty much he is the writer for the Little Rascals movie and Liar Liar from Jim Carrey. Yeah, Jim Carrey's Liar Liar movie, directed by Tom Shadyac. And pretty much they also got the last writer, Jim Martin, I believe that's his name. He was actually a writer for the Woody Woodpecker live action Flash animated series, which that was pretty much all animated in Flash animation. So yeah. And of course, you got the film's music composer, Michael Lira, who actually did a pretty good job with the film score, not gonna lie. Like, his music for this film is actually pretty catchy, if you listen to it in the film. Also, I should mention that the only person who actually did come back from the first Woody Woodpecker movie is the animation supervisor. Like, literally, they got one of the animation supervisors from the first Woody Woodpecker movie to work on the sequel, despite everything else in this movie pretty much being completely new. So yeah, that's the reason why the animation pretty much looks almost the same. Now, on to the review. I think the Woody Woodpecker sequel is not only better than its predecessor, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure this movie might have actually been a masterpiece. Like, yeah, it was actually a mad amazing movie, bro. Like, this is the type of movies I'm talking about, bro. This is mad crazy. This movie was mad insane, bro. Like, from the first 4 minutes, Woody's already doing his wacky antics. And that's pretty much an accomplishment in the movie itself. Like, not to mention, Woody actually agrees to stay in a camp in like the first 10 minutes of the film. Like, literally all of that action happens in like the first 10 minutes. And then afterwards, the film has like a bunch of weird dialogue and weird scenes of humor. But hey, they're all relevant to the plot. So pretty much you got what you paid for. So yeah. Yeah, it's a really good movie, man. Like, I'm not joking when I say this. The humor in this movie is actually very funny. Like, I'm surprised that I actually laughed a lot more at this movie's humor compared to the first movie. Like, even though I liked the first movie's humor, and I actually did get plenty of laughs out of the jokes and all that stuff, I will admit that the sequel actually did get me to laugh even more. But I do have to acknowledge one thing that a lot of people actually do have a bit of a grudge with the first film. Like, yeah, okay guys, I get that people actually keep saying that the first Woody Woodpecker movie has like fart gags, but here's the thing. It wasn't all fart jokes, bro. Literally, the Woody Woodpecker movie, the first film, I should say, like back in 2017, that film actually wasn't all fart jokes and gross out humor. So if you're gonna pretty much criticize the movie over that, then I don't know what to say at this point. The first Woody Woodpecker movie actually did have a couple of the slapstick comedy that this film actually does offer in the same sense. Like, I'm not joking. Like, people are saying that the sequel is better than the original in terms of comedy because the humor is more in line with the cartoons. But I don't really see that. Like, honestly, it's pretty much the same as the first film. Like, literally the first movie was trying to emulate the same type of comedy. The only thing is that they had to add fart jokes just for the kids. And that's basically it. It's like Space Jam, pretty much. Like, you know how Space Jam tries to add fart jokes and butt jokes just so they can, like, get children's attention? like because well, these movies are made for low attention span kids. Yeah, that's pretty much how both these films work. This is pretty much the reason as to why I had to acknowledge this criticism with the first Woody Woodpecker movie, because it's almost as if the critics who watched this film didn't even watch the first movie. Like, literally, you have to watch the first movie in order to understand some of the stuff in the sequel. Because basically, the sequel even makes nods and references to the original film as much as it does with the cartoons. So basically, you have to watch the original. I'm sorry, man. Like, if you're not gonna watch the original and you're just gonna straight up like everything in this movie and say that it's straight up better just because the original had like a couple of fart jokes from one scene of the film that you just watched, yeah, that's not valid, bro. That's not a valid review. So don't listen to any of the other critics on YouTube. Only listen to me, because literally my review is the most accurate to what everybody is pretty much not understanding. Basically, everybody else is pretty much acting idiotic or like not doing their research, because I don't know what's going on, but the first Woody Woodpecker was not just gross out humor. It actually had slapstick, bro. Like, there was slapstick in that movie. I swear, there was actual slapstick. I'm not joking. Like there was actual cartoony stuff going on in that film. Like, the humor is pretty much almost the same. I wouldn't really see much of a difference in this movie's comedy. The only thing that's really different in terms of humor is the fact that Woody is actually less of a violent jerk, and he's more of a kind-hearted helper in this film. Like, for some reason, he's actually assisting the campers in this movie so he can actually save the camp. That's basically the plot of this movie. Like, Woody's just trying to save somebody else's camp. I don't really remember all the characters. All I remember is that, like, the main character, Angie, is, like, supposed to be this little girl of a camp counselor who runs the camp. So, pretty much, yeah. That's how it works. Also, while you can make the argument that Woody Woodpecker is still a bit of a jerk in this film, because at one point he actually does manage to crash somebody's party in like the first 4 minutes of the film, that I pretty much mentioned already. Basically, yeah, he does crash somebody's party. His name is Kyla, and his party just gets crashed, and Woody just takes videos without his permission. So yeah, basically, it's almost like the first movie, but only through 4 minutes of the film, and that's about it. Like, the sequel only manages to have like 4 minutes, so that way we can get references from the first film. So yeah, basically, yeah. And I should mention that Woody Woodpecker actually is a bit oblivious to certain stuff, and he would often make sarcastic comments. But honestly, if you really do think about it, Woody's more of a daydreamer in this movie than he is of a freaking jerk, because literally he's not really in the movie as much as you think he would. But if there's one thing that this movie improved on in terms of production, if more than anything else throughout the entire film, it has to be the animation. Like, oh my freaking god. Oh my freaking goodness. Oh my freaking whatever. What in the world did I just witness? Hova Jerusalem? Oh my goodness. Man, the animation in this movie looks so much better than the original. It is almost insane. It is almost like the most crazy thing I had ever seen in my entire life. Like, out of everything else in this movie that people consider crazy, the craziest thing about this film definitely has to be Woody Woodpecker's animation, along with Buzz Buzzard and Wally Rose, because oh my goodness, the animation in this movie looks phenomenal. There are so many 3D camera angles with these characters that they pull off throughout the entirety of the sequel that manages to actually look like the characters belong in these environments. Like, the filmmakers actually cleverly managed to have Woody and the other characters that he interacts with all work around these environments. Like, they all feel like they belong within these live action forest, pretty much, yeah. Like, it's not just a forest, but they even have like kitchen areas. They got like areas within the camps, rooms, cabins, all those places that they go to throughout this entire film. They use a bunch of interesting 3D camera angles, and I was really surprised how good they looked. Like, the animation almost reminded me of Daffy's Rhapsody from Matthew O'Callaghan, because like, if you never watch any of the Real FX Looney Tunes shorts, you pretty much have no idea how good the animation for this movie truly is, because my goodness, you have to watch those shorts if you really want to understand how good the animation in this movie truly is, because there is no way of describing in words how much of an improvement this truly was. Like, the Daffy Rhapsody short, one thing I really loved about that animation is that the animators actually went out of their way to like make the characters have those layout poses and implement them into 3D animation. That's basically what the Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp movie pretty much took. They took the route of like having the characters' layout poses take a lot of the animation course throughout the entirety of this film. Like, literally, the character animation mostly consists of a bunch of expressive layout poses. Like, it's really good stuff. Like, this is almost at the same level as Kung Fu Panda, how great it is. Like, I'm surprised how great the animation truly looks in most scenes of the film. It's beyond decent. It's actually, like, amazing, bro. Like, this is beyond amazing animation. This is actually, like, top tier stuff, man. I don't know what to say at this point because, like, if I had anything else to really say about the animation, that's pretty much it. Because, like, everything else is pretty much the same as before, but pretty much improved. That's about it. But overall, to conclude, Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp is one of the best animation live-action sequels to a live-action CGI hybrid that not many people seem to like. Yet I personally really liked back as a child. It's great that this movie actually got its own sequel, despite being more of a nostalgic film for me than everybody else. So, the fact that they made a sequel to one of my favorite movies is really a pleasure. It has been a pleasure watching Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp, and I would be happy, more than happy, to rewatch this film again and again and again. I don't care. It's that good. Just go and watch it for yourself. If you are a fan of the first Woody Woodpecker movie like me, you pretty much are gonna love this film. Like, it is just absolutely phenomenal. Thank you. Like, honestly, I don't really think we need anything more than just a good sequel to a film that I personally liked. And that's about it. Well, even if you don't like the first movie, I think you'll still like the sequel more.